One in Three is intended for mature audiences. Episodes contain explicit content and may be triggering as they often include violence and other varying forms of abuse such as emotional, psychological, sexual, and physical. In most cases, names have been changed to protect all involved. Please note, statements and opinions of guests do not necessarily reflect those of my own. Hi warriors, welcome to One in Three. I'm your host Ingrid. I have mentioned before that one of my favorite silver linings of domestic violence is hearing how survivors pull themselves up and in their strength also choose to pull others up with them. Today's guest is doing just that. She has chronicled her devastating experience with domestic violence in her upcoming book, Beauty and the Beast Within. We had a lot to talk about, so I'm breaking our conversation into 2 episodes. Here's part 1 with survivor, author, and illustrator Michelle Johnson.
I just want to say hello. I am also a domestic violence survivor, and this is about my story.
Do you want to give just like a quick background? You did say you're a domestic violence survivor, but you wrote a book.
Yes, I did.
And that's part of the reason you're joining
Yes.
today.
And I've actually dedicated the book to my abuser because literally without him, it wouldn't be possible. Like, there are so many tragic things that happen to so many people, but they really do make for a good story if you think about it.
Because some of the details you can't make up.
Fact, yes. I also didn't realize since doing this, there have been so many women that have been abused. It's a lot more than you see, or even probably the statistics even show. Oh no.
I agree with you. I don't think the statistics are accurate. I know for me personally, I never reported anything. So even my story doesn't get counted in statistics. So it's already bad enough with what we know. And it's worse when you think about all the things that have not been reported.
Had I been the same person I am now in that situation, I feel like I would have left a long time ago.
In the heat of it and you're in the middle of it,
Yes.
there are so many reasons on why you're still there.
When they say that a person goes back, you do. And I can't say I'm not trying to justify going back, but I'm just saying I went back because I literally felt like I've never done any hard drugs, but it felt like a drug withdrawal being away. Like I feel like I had to be with him. I needed him. Even I knew I didn't mentally, but physically, emotionally, I felt like I had to be with him, even though he was being horrible to me.
It's that trauma bonds, right?
Yes, and it is. And it's so true and it's so strong.
I don't want you to give away all the details that you put in your book, but do you want to talk a little bit about what happened and what made you want to write the book?
Sure. Well, what made me want to write it is because the things that happened in it, like it really did feel like a movie. Like imagine yourself in the middle of literally the woods. You're in your pajamas, barefoot. It's wintertime, and this guy is really pushing you down in the woods, and you're stumbling. He's snatching you up. Like that is something you would see in like a scary movie, you know. And then he's got a gun in his hand, a double barrel shotgun, and all you're thinking is, hopefully my body will be found. Like you're not thinking anymore about leaving. You're not thinking anymore about this. I'm gonna make it. The only thing in my head was thinking.
That's awful.
It was very scary.
And I'm guessing that's not how it started. Did things sort of escalate to get to that point?
They did, because the crazy part is thinking back about it. I was with them for 7 years, and I don't really know. Can't remember when the abuse started, but I do remember the little bitty signs. Like it all started out with little stuff, and then it started with like other females always being around. And I know one time this female tried to get in his car when I was in the front seat of it. Like she looked at me and I looked at her. We both looked confused. I'm like, he literally had just got that car. So I'm like, how you know? Well, he ain't even. I just found out about the car. So that's kind of what started it because I guess he was still talking to his exes, and I would be trying to leave. So and then he said, "If I can have you, no one will." He meant that. He really did mean it.
And you were together for 7 years, you said?
Yes, we were. We were almost married. We were planning a marriage. My uncle was trying to be the ordained minister. He was trying to minister us like he was our therapist and everything. But I mean, nobody knew. I didn't, I kind of kept it a secret.
Did you confide in anybody ever?
I had a close friend that I did. I didn't really have to confide in her. She just knew me well enough to know something was wrong. That's how she knew. Because when he had took me to the woods and pointed that gun in my face, it was actually about her, because he didn't want me to be friends with her anymore.
Had she said something to him, or did he just
If
know she knew?
if she did, I don't know, because she was the kind of person that if somebody messing with her friend, she gonna try to do what she can to protect them. Because she actually is the reason why my mom came to the hospital, because he had me call her in the woods and tell her that I couldn't be friends with her anymore because my relationship was with him was more important. Like that was what he wanted. That was what made him not pull that trigger when he had me on that ground. Because I asked him, "What do you want? What do you want me to do?" And that's what he said.
Oh my gosh. So you're in the woods with a
Hmm.
shotgun pointed at you talking to your friend.
Yeah, and I'm on my knees with my hands behind my head, executioner style, in the middle of the woods. And his family lives in like Royal, Arkansas. And there's like, if you've ever been there, it's like natural forest. Like there was like panthers and stuff out there because we stayed in a cabin on his property, and you could literally hear them. You know, they sound like a woman screaming. You could hear them at night because, like I said, it was just forest and woods. People would go hunting back there and everything.
So if you started screaming, nobody would think anything of it.
His mom heard the gunshot, and all she did was ask him, because we went back to her house afterwards. And then she asked him, was that him in the woods firing the gun? Because he shot the gun like beside me to make sure I knew that it was loaded, and he hit the tree. So I already knew it was loaded because I seen him loading it, but he wanted me to make sure that to know that he was not afraid to do that. And all his mom said, "Was that you in the woods with the gun?" She was like, "Oh, okay." I'm sitting there thinking, wouldn't you have wanted to try to go see why your son is, it's like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
So how did you get from the woods back into the house? Did he just say, "Let's go"?
No, as he hit the gun to my head, he asked me, he said, yeah, I was like, "What do we want?" And he was like, I want you to do this if you want me not to kill you." And I'm like, "Well, what do you want?" And he was like, "I want you to stop being friends with her." At that point, I was willing to anything and everything anyway. So I was like, "That's fine. Okay, I'll do it." He had me call her. Once I called her and told her that, he felt better. He had me go to his mom's house. We were laying down in bed, and then I kept falling asleep, but I kept waking up because he had choked me so much I couldn't swallow my spit. So like I sat there laying in bed, and I'm like, if you don't take me to the ER, I don't think I'm gonna wake up. And he was like, "Well, what are you gonna tell them?" I'm like, "I don't care what is told to them. I just know if I lay here, I'm gonna choke on my own spit." At that time, I didn't even know my face looked the way it did or anything. I did because I hadn't seen myself. I just knew I was my anxiety was on 10. My adrenaline probably was on 100. And I just knew that I needed to get emergency attention. I didn't know how I looked until we were at the gas station. His mom was getting gas. I was in the front seat. And you know how you kind of see a reflection? I see my reflection and I'm kind of like, is that me? And then when his mom got to the hospital, his mom looked at me and she said, "I didn't even realize your face looked like that." My face was so swollen. My mom seen it. She didn't even, all she did was look at me. Her jaw was dropped and she ran out looking for him. He made his mom stay with me. He had my phone. He had my keys. He had my vehicle. I had nothing. I was there in pajamas, in a jacket, barefoot in the hospital. His mom is sitting there playing the game on her phone. Like she's like I felt like she was my prison warden.
So she's just acting chill, like nothing is
Yes,
weird.
yes. When she looked at me and said, "Oh, I didn't even realize your face was like that." Like it kind of like I looked at her like, "How could you say that to somebody?" Like my face, the pictures are in my book as well of how my face looked. Like I couldn't. I was on a liquid diet. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. All the medicines was liquid because I couldn't smoke. He had strangled me so much. He strangled me so much. I actually urinated on myself. I couldn't fight anymore. My every part of my body was heavy. I felt like I was underwater and that I was just being squished, and everything went dark. I actually woke up and my dad had passed away, and I seen my dad. I heard footsteps. I seen a door open. It was my dad, and he said it wasn't my time yet. And then when I woke up, I was hogtied. My hands and feet were hogtied behind my back with an extension cord. And I just woke up like, because I mean, I literally was just knocked out, because you really do urinate yourself when you pass. I really had a death experience, and it's crazy.
Do you know, did he have a history of abuse that you know of with previous partners?
That part, no one. There was kind of here. I can't say there was one because a lot of the people that he dated, I think they were into that kind of thing. Like when I say this guy is so strong, like he literally could pick up the front end of a 4-wheeler with one hand and lift it over his head. And he was in boxing. Like he probably should have been like one of those people that if you hit somebody, you're automatically in jail because he was strong. This dude was like intense strength, like freaking super geriatric strength. Like he was strong. Yes.
I feel like for his mom to just act so calm, that she had to have somehow been exposed to that or just known that he was capable of that kind of thing, because I can't imagine anyone just being mom or not a mom or whatever, a relative or friend or anything. I can't imagine anyone just sitting there just playing on their phone while like your face looks unrecognizable.
And it was my face, my neck, bruises wasn't the word. I was bruised up from head to toe. I had marks on my neck from his machete. Like, if like there have been a few times that had I not listened to whatever intuition told me to do, he would have killed me. Because one time he had a steak knife to my throat, and we were fighting once again. It was a fight over my friend. Because I think a lot of it because he knew she was going to protect me, and I guess he felt that maybe I was closer to her than him. I'm not really sure what kind of jealousy he had with that. But he had a steak knife to my throat, and something told me to put my hands under the knife. And the moment I did, he actually cut. If I would not have put my hands under the knife, he would have cut my throat because I had to get 15 stitches in my hand. Like you could literally see the bone in my hand, and I'm just sitting there. He was acting like he the one got caught. I still to this day don't understand how I was so calm.
Now, did the hospital staff on any of those times, did they ask you or did they pull you aside and talk to you privately and ask you what's going on?
When I got my face beat up, they did, but that I worked at that hospital as well. So they actually did was like, hold up, because like his mom was there, and they actually got her out and everything because he was having her watch me. But when they left, he left and he took all my vehicle and everything with him. So I didn't have anything. He took it all with him when he left. Like my friend was trying to get my vehicle back, but he took the battery out. And he told her if we wanted my truck, I was gonna have to come and talk to him. He pointed a gun at her and everything, which she wasn't afraid because plenty of times like she's had to rescue me from him. He's even chased us in a car before. We're like driving, flying through town in a yes, high speed chase, and he is chasing us.
That
Yes.
that's awful. Is Do you have all of that in your book?
Yes,
Or do
ma'am. Even the
okay.
parts where he drugged me and some random people heard us fighting in the street and he had the double barrel shotgun. I don't even know how he was able to carry this in his vehicle because he literally kept it in his car. Like I remember being in Hot Springs off somewhere and these people's house was kind of up and I guess these men heard us fighting. So they came down and they see him hurting me because he had my hair in his hand. He was hitting me. And these guys came and they like started wailing on him and they told me to run up the hill to their house. And I'm just like, yes, I'm like, I feel like I was running in slow motion, like I couldn't get away fast enough. Like I didn't even know these people. I don't even, it was two gentlemen. I just know I ran to their house and then my friend found us and they told her where I was and she came and got me. And then when we left, he started chasing us, trying to get her to wreck her vehicle. One time he had poured gasoline. He stripped
Oh
all
my
my clothes off. He poured all my things in a pile, poured gasoline on everything and me. When he went to go find something to light it, I didn't care that I was naked. We lived in a trailer park. I ran out that door and before my foot could hit that step on the ground to be gone, all I remember is it's like I was clotheslined when he just snatched me up and I just came right back in the house. Like I could remember my foot almost hit it. I was almost free. I didn't care. I was naked. I was gonna go. I was gonna run, streaking wherever, whoever come at me. I did not care.
Let's talk about a few things, like how we started talking about how you look back and you're like, why did I stay? Other than the trauma bond, was there anything that kept you? Because I know sometimes there's financial reasons that people stay, or just they have nowhere to go, or fearful that their abuser is going to find them? Was there anything specific other than that trauma bond that kept pulling you
I
back?
was I was very afraid. He used to tell me that, because he did have connections that knew how to hack computers and stuff, because I've seen it. And he was talking about, they know how to hack cameras. He always told me that they would find me and he would come after me. He always told me he would go after my family. Like, he always told me that. He told me that. He told me that so much you can't help but believe it when you hear it all the time. If you leave me, I'm gonna find you. Yeah, I will find you. He always said if I left him, it'll be a war. He always said that. He said, you leave, it's gonna be a war.
So I just looked up these statistics for just for my knowledge and then for a friend as well. When you are, and I want whoever's listening to pay attention to these two. I think I've mentioned it before, but when you're strangled by your partner, your risk of dying by that partner with the use of a gun increases by 750% within 1 year. Like, the article I read, they said the quote that stuck out was, when a man, and usually it's men strangling women. I'm sure there's probably an instance of a woman strangling men, but when you look at it, that men are physically built to be bigger and dominant to women. And so usually it's a man strangling a woman, that when he puts his hands around her neck, he's declaring, I'm a killer, because statistically he will kill someone within, like, I guess, his lifetime.
Wow, I pray that he hasn't though. But if he has, I hope he under the jail because baby, whoever because I mean, and it's crazy though because like he was an Adonis to me. Like I thought he was so perfect. Like he was mixed. So he had that caramel skin. He had a perfect smile. He worked out. He was built. He had muscles. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm winning. Like everybody wanted to meet him. My uncle met him. Uncle was trying to puff up his chest because he was so built. So I guess he was kind of intimidating. And I just thought, I'm just thinking, oh my God, I found the best person. My family liked him. My grandpa liked him. It was just crazy and how perfect we all thought he was.
Well, and that's what they do, is it's that love bombing thing that they do. They put on this persona of this most perfect person. So then you get pulled in, and I don't know if he did, but they can lavish you with compliments, and they just, you feel like the most important person in the world. They put you on this pedestal, and I think they purposely put you on a pedestal so that when they knock that down, you crash down hard. And then it's almost like you have no idea what happens to you or to the two of you as a couple. You're just completely taken aback by all of it.
You're absolutely right because I'm just like, it's still even to this day, it's mind blowing. Like I'm pretty sure there was so many red flags, and I just don't think. I think I was just more enamored at him. You know what I'm saying? Because I just felt like he was just so perfect to me. Like, because I like the muscular and the perfect skin, and he had the great smile, and he was smart, and he was fun and funny, and I'm like, yay! And then no,
Well, I think they're really good also at finding out what is important to you, what you like, and they become that person for you too. I mean, obviously, if he was built and he is just naturally good looking, you can't necessarily change that for you. But knowing what characteristics to play up to just kind of pull you in even more is, I think that's all part of their game. But
mm-hmm.
this person that you build up in your head, that's not the real person. That's just the show. And I think that's part of it that makes it so hard to leave too, is because in your mind you have the potential of what could be, and you just want to hold on to that, or even what was, and you want to get back to that.
I did, because like I said, I thought he was so perfect. He was so sweet and kind, and he said the sweet things. And the craziest part is, like, I met him through a job because I'm a CNA and actually was his grandfather's caretaker. And like I think the first few times I was supposed to go see his grandfather, I canceled. I don't know why, but I did. And the day I went to see him, I actually had wished I would have canceled because I didn't want to go. And I kind of wished I would have listened to my intuition and my body at that time and try to think, okay, why do I feel this way about where I'm going? Instead of just thinking that I just didn't feel like working. I'm like, I ready to want to work today.
I think after you've been through this, you start to pay attention more to your intuition. You realize your body or your brain or something was telling you that to do something different. It's just you didn't know then to listen to it or even what was trying to be told to you, I think.
You're right. I wish I would have, because several times I've seen stuff that put me put my eyebrow up. I know one, like when me and him were just started dating. I know he would always kiss his mom on the lips. Like he got mad about it, and I'm like, okay, you know what we just did, and you just kissed your mom with them same lips. And then he was like, oh, and after that, that's when they had stopped doing that. Because I'm kind of like, sir, you just, why would you?
That's creepy.
It was. Now, I wish I would have thought more into it instead of just thinking maybe that's just because that's her only son and they had a lot of trouble. They had a very strained and troubled relationship. They really did. He got an apartment. I know his mom kept trying to tell him that he needed to help her pay bills. And I'm like, not if he's living with me, because if he living, no, we actually got into it about that. I think he had pushed his mom down the steps that day because they had fought about it. Because I got mad and said, if you finna pay her bills, you need to go live with her because I'm not doing this. Like I know whenever he was really mad at me and couldn't get to me, I know he did be really mean to her. I did hear. I don't physically see it, but I could hear it.
Do you know if she was ever abusive to him, like in his childhood?
To be honest, from what he told me as a child, his mom was like, she was. I don't know what went on with him and his dad. To me, I honestly feel like she was the abusive partner to his dad. I really do feel that way because I know she was in and out of like mental institutions. She was like he was mixed, so his family was actually they were racist. They didn't care much for darker complected, so they treated him as such. He had to be raised by like her family because she was always in and out from going through stuff with his dad. So she wasn't able to take care of him. And I know the school he went to was he was a minority there. And I know some of the kids that took him to the woods and they had they tied him to a tree and poured honey on him. And they had an ant, like he was out there for a long time before anybody found him. And he was tied to a tree and they let the ants, pretty much, you know, that right there, I know it's caused some trauma. I know when he was 3 or 4, he was outside playing and actually got hit and drugged by the dump truck. Yes, like the dump truck hit him as a child and drug him a couple feet. So that little boy, I mean, he had been through a lot. I don't want to make up excuses for him. I'm just saying I know a lot of his issue isn't still from all the stuff that happened to him as a kid.
And that's one thing that I always wrestle with, I guess, in my mind is, did something cause someone to be the kind of person they are, or were they born that way, or is it a combination maybe of both? And it might be both. I don't know, but
I feel like it was. Yeah.
and he definitely had bad things happen, but you also have to look at other people have had really bad things happen to them and they don't end up doing the things that he did.
You're absolutely right. I don't know what to say, what made him feel so comfortable to do that. I remember one time him and his mom were actually fighting over the double barrel shotgun. And when I say fighting, they're like sitting there tug of warring it, pulling it back and forth. And I'm just sitting here watching, like tied to a chair, and I'm sitting there just looking like, well, I hope one of y'all shoot each other so I can go. It's literally what I'm thinking. I hate to say that, but that's literally what I was thinking because they were literally sitting here. She's pulling it, he's pulling it. No, no. And I'm like, y'all gonna kill each other.
Well, in that situation, it's almost like you're extra stuck because there's her too. I
Yeah,
mean, she might not be the one who's physically keeping you where you are, but there's still a role I think that she plays in it too. Um,
I agree.
did he ever go to jail for anything?
No, he didn't. I mean, he got a lot of traffic violations. Like every car she's had, he's wrecked. He's wrecked so many cars, he wasn't able to get insurance. And his mom, the insurance company said they would drop her if she insured a car and he drove it because that's how many of the vehicles that he's wrecked. Yes.
I think that's a red flag too, is like erratic driving.
You are right because like instead of stopping, he'll speed up, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Boy, stop!" Like I'll be in the car, and I'm like, what in the world? Like I'm still, this brand new car did not stay brand new very long.
That's awful. So,
It is.
and then he didn't serve any time with anything that he did to you?
As far I don't know if he did, because all I know is I moved out of the city to get away. Like when my family had did a welfare check because I couldn't nobody could get out reach out to me, but he had my phone. I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom with the door closed. I couldn't take a shower with the door closed, and half the time I had to have a curtain where he could see me. He always had my phone. When he was sleeping, like he would be like on top of me, basically. Like I guess afraid that I would leave, while he was sleeping. So it was like, yes, like I remember my friend, she was taking, insomnia medicine. And sometimes she would come over and give them to me, and I would put them in his food or drinks just so I can just have one moment just to breathe. Like he would always take me in the closed room or the closet or the bathroom and choke me. Like I think I felt, I now know Homer and Bart Simpson felt because he was just choking. Like he did, if he was mad, I'm being choked. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the heck? Like that was one of his favorite things to do was choke. And I'm pretty sure I have some memory, like it's caused a little bit of memory loss from the lack of oxygen because he did it on a regular basis.
With strangulation victims, even if they go to the hospital, a lot of times, unless like they're pushing so much pressure, but a lot of times you don't even know, you can't prove that you were strangled because there may not be any marks around your throat. But there are long lasting effects. There's, like you said, there's like memory issues. Sometimes there can even be personality changes depending on the severity and the frequency of getting strangled.
You're absolutely right because it happened in July, and when July comes around, I'll get nightmares. I won't be able to sleep. Like I literally will be fighting in my sleep. I woke up to me almost punching my bedside table because like I'm fighting in my sleep. I feel like I'm choking. Like they were able to see that I was choked because when they laid me down on the MRI machine, I had to scream because the pressure from my head and my neck. They had a hard time doing it because like yes, they could see I was yes, it was bad. My whole little neck was swollen. I couldn't eat anything for a while, and I really didn't want to anyway. I could barely swallow my spit. When that happened, I actually went and stayed with that my best friend, the one who he was telling me not to be friends with.
How did you get out finally? Did you have to, since, I was asking like if there was a reason that you stayed. Part of it is because he was physically restraining you and not letting you leave. But how did you finally leave and stay gone?
Well, when he had actually cut my hands open and I got them 15 stitches, I can say that it was a different kind of eye opener for me because the whole time I'm in there, I'm the one getting stitches, and he's the one while the doctor is sewing my hands up. He's walking back and forth, looking at me, acting like, oh my god, just walking back. And like, if that lady would have asked him to leave when we went to the ER, I could have told them everything, and I know he would have been in jail for attempted man or whatever they would have called it. And I'm sitting here looking at her, like reading my mind, like trying to like put brainwaves, like just so hopefully she can see in my eyes to just let him walk away. But she never did, not one time. And this lady in the waiting room actually came in and she hugged me. I think she kind of knew because the whole time I am literally sitting there calm. I didn't cry out. I didn't cry. I just had this stoic face on, and he's in the ER going back and forth, pacing and looking at me, and he's got my phone and my keys, and I'm sitting here with my both of my hands in this towel, and he's just sitting there like I said, pacing, and even the security guard kind of looked at him. I feel like people had an idea, but I don't know if people just didn't want to get in it because they don't, people like to mind their business. So, I don't really know why nobody said anything, but they didn't. So after we left the hospital that day, I'm sitting there laying down and he's sitting there sleeping, holding me, and my hands are throbbing. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't. It's about to be me or him. Like I'm sitting there contemplating if I could kill him. And that's not the kind of person I am. Like I barely can kill a bug. I gotta call somebody else to get it. Like I had a grasshopper in my car and I almost wrecked. Like I'm sitting here like I'm about to let the grasshopper have my whole vehicle. It's on the driver's side window and I'm way over here. I'm looking at it the whole way to work. And I'm sitting here, and even the people at my job, like I didn't have to say anything for them to be able to tell what's going on. Like covering my black eyes with hair, or wearing turtlenecks to cover, the bruises on my neck, and turtlenecks to cover my arms. Like the nurses were seriously trying to tell me what to do and going to give the things to me to take care of it. Like, they're like, you can use insulin. They'll never know. It's a natural thing. And literally telling me what to do. Like when he goes to sleep, put it, do it in his hair. And I'm sitting there really contemplating it. Like I considered it because I was just so tired. I was tired. I was tired emotionally. I was tired physically. I was tired mentally. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was so bad. Even the veterinarian could tell me I was abused. My dog's veterinarian called me and asked me if I was safe at home because of how my dog was acting. When I left. He went to work. I pretended I was sleeping. My friend came over. We're throwing stuff because I was in an upstairs apartment. We're throwing furniture over the balconies. We're sliding down the stairs and the couches because we're trying to get me out right before he comes home from work. And like we got done at like 4 or 5, and he was gonna be coming home soon. And I was finished. She was like, Michelle, you're not going to leave like this. She was like, just come to my house. And I was terrified. I said no because I know he's going to come there because the police and because I had an investigator. He would come and get me, and then he was helping me plan out, me leaving and how to help because my family had did a welfare check. And when they did, he's the one that came. He talked to me. I told him what happened. Like he's seen it physically because it was seen like me healing, and then I showed him what happened. Like my ex actually said he was glad that my hands were hurt because he said he could take care of me. Like I couldn't even wipe my bottom. Yes, he did. He said that. He said, now I can take care of you. I'm sitting there thinking, I can't even wipe my own butt, man. Like this is not a cool feeling. I couldn't pull my pants up, anything. I had 15 stitches and I had stitches in both hands.
That's so sick.
It,
Like,
it,
I'm glad I did this to you, so now I can take care of. Well, I mean, that's what they want. They want you to be completely dependent on them. So then you're even more stuck. You can't go anywhere.
You're absolutely right, and I really did feel like I was like my mom. I don't know when it came about. I guess because she had me come to her house one day, and she was like, "I want you to watch this movie." She was like, "Is he gonna let you come over?" And then my mom actually had to talk to him, and be like, "Look, I need to see my daughter, so you need to calm down and relax." Like, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. He would take me to work and take my vehicle. Sometimes he wouldn't even pick me up. I've had to walk home from my mom's house, walk home from work to my mom's house. Because while I lived with him, it was like kind of on the outskirts of the city. So the closest place for my job was my mom's, and it wasn't that close, but it was close enough where I know I could. It's like a 30-minute walk, and he would do that all the time. And it turned out he'd be with his ex girls. One time he didn't even. I got a ride out to his house, and he wasn't there. He didn't come until the next day. Said talking about he fell asleep in the driveway at one of his friends' house, and I'm like, you really think this makes sense? And in my mind, I'm thinking, so are you just doing this to me, or are you doing it to her too?
I mean, I don't feel like people that are this level of abusive just do it to one person. I think it has to be more people.
It has to be, but I mean, but then like I said, I can't say because they just literally just kept running, flocking to him, and I'm like, can't I'm like, what the? It didn't make any sense.
Now, were you able to get a restraining order or anything on him
The
after you
city
left?
did that actually, because
Oh,
like I
okay.
said, I had that, yeah, because when we did that, my family had did that welfare check, and the officer came and he actually said we're going to serve him papers. I told him where he worked at, but they said they didn't want me to be there. So he told me, we made a plan together about when I'm gonna get out and how I'm gonna get out, so they could serve him papers. So that night, she and I moved all my stuff. We actually hid my vehicle and the moving truck in plain sight. A friend of mine had worked like down the street from my apartment. That's where her office was, so she let us just hide my vehicle there. It's not a place, unless you just looking, you're not going to look there, basically. So we had to park there, and I went to stay at her house. And when he got off work, he went to my mom's house. He literally went to every person that he knew that I knew house. It was like probably 5, 6 o'clock in the morning because my mom was calling me. Everybody was calling me. I didn't answer the phone. He called me probably about 100 times. He even came to the house where I was at. And as soon as that door knocking, all I remember is just rocking. I remember rocking and freaking out, and my friend coming in there hugging me and saying, shh, because her mom stayed that day because she knew what was happening. So her mom answered the door, and he kept trying to make his way in there. And they had a gun too. And she was like, either you're going to leave or I'm going to get this gun, or I'm going to call the police. I'm going to let you decide. And he was like, well, where is she? And she's like, I don't know. We haven't heard from her. Because he was look. Actually, he knocked on my mama's door like 6 o'clock in the morning, and he's knocking on my mama's door looking for me. Because like I said, we took everything. He's like, well, there's nothing left in the apartment, and she's gone. And then the police came to my job and served us some papers. Like all that happened in the same day. I know that they did give us the longest restraining order that was possible. I think it was like 8 to 10 years. And even in court, the judge had to like reprimand him because he kept trying to talk to me. When they had me on the stand, he kept trying to talk to me. He kept trying to apologize, kept trying to say he loved me. And the judge is like, is something wrong with you? Do you not understand that there was a restraining order and you're in court and you're still trying to talk to her? And then when court was over, they had like us go, separate. Like they let me leave first, and I had to completely leave and go down to the little office, and they let him leave. They wouldn't let us leave, separately or together. I mean, at the same time.
Now that we have a good understanding of the trauma Michelle endured, I'm going to take a break here. I don't want you to miss Michelle's journey into freedom, so I will be releasing part 2 tomorrow. Make sure to tune in to see how she used her creativity to turn her trauma into a source of comfort and healing, not only for herself, but for other domestic violence victims as well. Thank you for listening. Michelle's bio is attached to her episodes on the 1 in 3 website. I have included the link in the show notes. I will be back tomorrow with the second half of Michelle's story. Until then, stay strong, and wherever you are in your journey, always remember you are not alone. Find more information, register as a guest, or leave a review by going to the website 1in3podcast.com. That's the number 1, IN, the number 3, podcast.com. Follow 1 in 3 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 1 in 3 podcast. To help me out, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. 1 in 3 is a .5 Pinoy production. Music written and performed by Tim Crow.